Before Libya was a hashtag for civil war and migrant boats, it was something very different. A quiet desert kingdom sitting on a secret it barely understood. In the 1950s, survey teams started poking holes in the sand. What they found would transform one of the poorest countries in the Arab world into one of the richest, almost overnight. But oil doesn't just bring wealth, it brings attention. It brings deals, bases, and quiet promises, and it turns a small country into a target. Today we're going back to the beginning. The monarchy, the oil boom, and the young officer who overthrew a king and kicked out foreign bases. This is how Libya became a target for some of the most powerful countries on earth. Modern Libya starts here, 1951. King Idris declares independence, and the new kingdom is fragile, poor, and heavily reliant on Britain and the United States for support. In exchange for economic aid and political backing, Idris signs deals that let the US and UK open major military bases on Libyan soil. One of them, Huilas Air Base near Tripoli, becomes one of the largest American facilities outside the United States. For a while, Libya is more important for its geography than for anything under the ground. It's a launch pad, a training range, a Cold War outpost on the southern shore of the Mediterranean. Then, in 1959, everything changes. Explorers strike oil, big oil. Within a few years, Libya goes from a forgotten desert kingdom to one of the fastest-growing oil producers in the world. The government passes new petroleum laws that attract foreign companies, big names and smaller independents, creating a competitive oil rush. No single company is allowed to dominate, but almost all of them are Western. Oil money starts to flow, and Libya's income explodes. But the benefits are uneven, corruption grows, and something else is spreading. A new mood across the Arab world. Arab nationalism is rising. People are asking, why are foreign bases still here? Why are foreign companies taking so much of our wealth? And why is our king so close to the West? Inside the Libyan army, a group of young officers is watching all of this. They see the king as weak, corrupt, and too dependent on foreign powers. Among them is a 27-year-old captain named Muammar Gaddafi. On September 1st, 1969, while King Idris is abroad for medical treatment, Gaddafi and his fellow officers make their move. They seize control of key installations, take over the radio, and announce that the old regime is finished. It's a textbook military coup, fast, mostly bloodless, and nothing like the messy wars that would hit Libya decades later. But the ideas behind it are radical. Gaddafi presents himself as the heir to Nasser's pan-Arabist project, anti-imperialist, anti-colonial, and fiercely independent. He promises to use Libya's oil to modernize the country, support Arab causes, and break the grip of foreign powers. He renames the state the Libyan Arab Republic and starts to reshape everything: symbols, institutions, and especially Libya's relationships with the West. One of his earliest moves is a direct hit at the old order. He pushes out foreign military bases. By 1970, British forces and the huge American base at Huilas are gone, and their installations are handed over to the new Libyan state. For many Libyans and Arabs, this is a powerful symbol. Here is a leader who didn't just talk about independence, he physically removed the foreign troops. But for Washington and London, the message is just as clear. The days of easy access and unquestioned influence in Libya are over. And that makes Libya a very different kind of country in their eyes. Throwing out bases is one thing, touching oil is another. After the coup, Gaddafi targets the heart of Libya's relationship with the West, the oil industry. He demands higher prices, better terms, and greater control for the Libyan state. He plays a clever game, pitting big majors like Esso against smaller independents like Occidental. He cuts production to force better deals, counting on the fact that some companies can't afford to lose Libya. In the 1970s, Libya launches a nationalization drive. The state takes majority stakes in concessions, sets up strong production sharing deals, and builds up the National Oil Corporation as the central player. Foreign companies don't disappear, but the balance of power shifts. Libya starts nationalizing assets, including those of giants like BP, especially when it wants to send a message about regional issues. By the end of the decade, Libya has largely taken control of its oil sector. National revenues soar. At one point, per capita income jumps to some of the highest in the region. But that new wealth doesn't erase the old fears from Western capitals. In their eyes, Libya has just checked every box of a problem state. Anti-Western rhetoric, nationalization of oil, expulsion of bases, and support for causes that challenge the status quo. Think about the pattern. A leader comes in, takes back control of resources, pushes out foreign troops, and starts funding movements the great powers don't like. If you've watched this channel for a while, you've seen that pattern before. In Iran, in Cuba, in other places. For Gaddafi, this is about dignity and sovereignty. For oil companies and governments in the US and Europe, it's about risk. Risk to profits, risk to access, and risk that other countries might copy Libya's example. From here on, Libya is no longer just a supplier. It's a player, loud, unpredictable, and determined to use oil as a political weapon. That's the moment when Libya truly becomes a target. Not only a place where companies extract oil, but a state that challenges who gets to control that oil and what it's used for. So by the late 1970s, the stage is set. You have a young regime that kicked out foreign bases, squeezed better deals from oil companies, and talks openly about fighting imperialism. For a lot of Libyans, that looked like liberation. For powerful countries and corporations, it looked like a threat. In the next episode, we're going to see what happens when that threat label hardens. How does a state go from independent to rogue to terrorist in the eyes of the world? And what pressure gets applied along the way? If you want to follow this story all the way from the first oil wells to the war that broke Libya, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Was Gaddafi's early move to nationalize oil a necessary step, or the moment Libya painted a target on its own back?